Hey, what's going on YouTube? Welcome to today's video where we are going to be looking at and ranking every new dojutsu presented to us in the Boruto series from beginning up until now. Originally, I was just going to do an Eida Dojutsu explained video. Well, we haven't actually seen this ability in conjunction to her combat skills, so I can't really dive deep into it. It'd be a super short video. So instead, I figured I'd just cover all of them, both anime and manga. This video will cover every single new dojutsu in the entire Boruto series. I think to start, it probably makes the most sense to begin with Boruto, seeing as how literally in the first episode we were introduced to the Jogan, the eye claimed to be the Star of Hope by Toneri himself. This eye is a unique dojutsu that is known only by the Itsuki clan, whose members being urashiki claim it's troublesome and that it's a power strongly inherited from their clan. In the manga, the dojutsu has had no real appearance besides the iconic Boruto vs Kawaki intro in the very beginning, which is interesting. I think it's clear the writers have no plans to show off the Jogan anytime soon, and by show off, I mean reveal whatever the hell Toneri meant by Star of Hope. There have been no clear foreshadowings as of now. It's literally way too hard to predict because as the audience, we just don't know where the story is headed at completely. But yes, the Jogan was actually pretty impactful in the very first arc of the show, and that's pretty much it. However, it did make its return in the urashiki battle alongside his acquaintance Shinki. Now, as for its abilities, before gaining control of this dojutsu in the time skip, it would independently activate in the presence of dangerous/hidden targets. It can perceive the flow of chakra, enabling Boruto to see the visible changes in one's chakra and likewise track a target through their chakra. It can clearly see the chakra pathway system and determine its most key point, like we saw in his battle against Nue. It can also see through invisible barriers that connect between dimensions, as well as predicting where Urashiki's portals will be used. As of now, that's kind of it. But even then, this dojutsu with just the feats it has alone aren't bad to say. It tracks the flow of a user's chakra pathway system, where we've seen that before, the Byakugan, and also allows him to track a target through their chakra alone, that also just being one of the abilities of the Sharingan. When Jigen shrunk to an extremely small size and got behind Naruto, Sasuke was still able to see Jigen regardless due to this ability of the Sharingan, allowing him to see Jigen's chakra no matter how small. Or an example in Shippuden is Sasuke being able to see Deidara's C4 attack a mile away. I'm gonna be completely honest though, since I think I know there is a lot more to this dojutsu, hence Star of Hope, this is going to be the lowest ranked dojutsu. This video isn't structured to where I'll be discussing each one by weakest to strongest, but since we probably don't even know 25% of what this eye is and what it can do, it's just gonna have to be ranked at where it is. But truth be told, in the time skip, I'm sure it'll most definitely change from its position. Next up is Momoshiki. Momoshiki is one of the most unique dojutsu users in terms of where the actual eye itself is placed. Kaguya, Isshiki, Toneri all have their dojutsus placed in their eyes like how it is with most users in the franchise. I'm guessing this was done by Kishimoto to disparate this character from the members we've already known at his introduction in the movie, seeing as how he was built up since Kaguya to be someone pretty frightening in power. Momoshiki was capable of holding his own against multiple Kage level opponents simultaneously, as well as defeating a perfect Jinchuriki in B. After absorbing Kinshiki, he was able to defeat 4 Kage at the same time with extreme ease. And he could fight somewhat evenly with Sasuke and Naruto, who both utilized 6-path chakra. Uniquely, Momoshiki wielded a pair of Rinnegan, both being red in color instead of the light purple. With his right one, he could use it to absorb any chakra-based technique he came in contact with, and afterwards, unleash that same technique with insane power through his left, which he claimed to be able to do a limitless amount of times. Also, with his right Rinnegan, he can turn a target into pills, which when eaten, grants him extended youth along with their chakra and technique arsenal. Noticeably, after transforming from his absorption of Kinshiki, the Rinnegan in Momoshiki's palms turned yellow, and he can gain an additional yellow Rinnegan on his forehead. Yet, the ability of this Rinnegan stays the same. Due to this ability, Naruto, Sasuke, and basically everyone else were heavily restricted to Taijutsu. The only reason Boruto's Vanishing Rasengan worked is because of its name, Vanishing Rasengan. Had Momoshiki known of this ability, regardless of what it does, good chances are he would have absorbed it. The ability naturally just caught him off guard the first time. And the Master Rasengan Boruto used to finish him off only worked after Sasuke disabled his Rinnegan. The ability to absorb not only chakra-based attacks thrown at him, but to spit it out off his other hand on a bigger scale is insane. And like I said, this ability alone predetermines the rules before any battle. No ninjutsu, only taijutsu. Urashiki is up next, and interestingly enough, he holds 2 dojutsus with 2 very different abilities. I know this isn't a case to where he has one in base form and one in his transformation. These 2 dojutsus are both Rinnegans of different color in his base form. Yes, you heard me right, base form. The red Rinnegan, which is similar to Sasuke's, produces a 6 Tomoe in each eye. With this red 6 Tomoe Rinnegan, he could warp through space and time and travel across dimensions. The broken aspect of this dojutsu is its durability. Urashiki freely moves around dimensions like it takes nothing out of him because, well, yeah, it probably doesn't. Unlike Sasuke, Urashiki can basically spam this technique with no worry. Now onto the blue Rinnegan, it allows him to warp into the past by several seconds. In a defense stance, by repeating the effect, he could use the acquired knowledge of the near future to formulate a perfect counterattack, which he did so against Jiraiya. He can also use an evasion technique that substitutes dozens of red origami cranes upon being struck, kinda similar to the substitution. This is a very broken ability, and it literally took the most detailed counter to do anything about it. In the time skip arc, Jiraiya traps Urashiki inside the belly of a toad, while Naruto and Boruto forced Urashiki to use his blue Rinnegan multiple times. Due to the air being filled with acidic poison and the multiple times he relived an attack, the poison ended up affecting his body much quicker than it did with the others, but again, like I said, extremely specific and detailed. Not a lot of shinobis can do something like that. His substitution technique is interesting because once used dodging an attack from Sasuke, he was gone. Sasuke couldn't trace him at all in that moment, and for a Rinnegan ability, that's something I kind of expect. Now for the first female character on this list, we have Delta, and she also brings us our first scientific ninja tool eye. Delta's body has been extensively enhanced by a model with highly advanced shinobi wear, to the point where she had become a full cyborg, capable of body transformations similar to Kawaki's. As for her eyes, she can absorb and release ninjutsu, very similar to Momoshiki, but not to the same degree. She was seen doing this as she did against Naruto's Rasengan. The negative side to this ability of Delta, however, is the fact that she cannot absorb an insane amount of chakra at one time. With Momoshiki and Jigen, this hasn't proven to be a problem. The secondary ability to this eye is, in my opinion, the better, where she is able to launch a powerful destruction beam capable of overpowering the strongest of regenerative abilities. This attack proves so dangerous to Naruto that if it connected once, it would have instantly killed him. This is an attack Naruto cannot tank under any circumstance. His only option is to dodge, which he did pretty well. And honestly, I might be alone on this, but I don't think Delta is as weak as people make her seem. Her opponent is just that strong. She is going up against Hokage Naruto, the strongest Hokage of all time, bearer to the 9 tails and 6 path chakra. If she went up against anybody weaker, I don't doubt we would have really seen her abilities in play, to where in her only battle, she kinda just missed a lot, if not all of her attacks. The second last character we have on this list is Isshiki Otsutsuki. Funny enough, I literally just made a video explaining his unique dojutsu like last week. But hey, I did say every new dojutsu, so I guess I'm doing this again. Interestingly enough, Ishiki's dojutsu is unnamed. I still don't get why Kodachi never named it, but that leaves room to believe that it will reappear once again in the future. Maybe. This dojutsu comes with 2 unique abilities. The first ability is called Sukuna Hokona, the ability to shrink themselves and any inanimate object or non-living matter not produced through ninjutsu within their sights. This ability is extremely troublesome to the wielder's opponents. Like Sasuke said, it's a simple ability to understand, but very complicated to counter in action. Combining this with his natural speed just makes it impossible for almost anyone to do anything about. Isshiki can shrink objects like black rods, stick them onto his opponents, which obviously has no impact at first, but then increase their size by any large amount, dealing excruciating damage. With this technique, he was even able to suppress Naruto's 6-path Kurama avatar with immense ease. Isshiki is also able to shrink himself, and although it wasn't stated to increase one's speed, just the ability to shrink so small, basically invisible to the naked eye, is what makes it so intimidating. Sasuke's Sharingan is probably the only thing that can counter this, being able to see all forms of chakra within a person, regardless of how small. Ishiki's second technique is called the Daikokun, which enables the user to store anything shrunk by Sukuna Hokona into a dimension where time doesn't flow at any moment. The dojutsu can also summon large black cubes, which can disrupt the techniques of a sensory type individual, which is no joke. The dojutsu can also summon large black cubes. The dojutsu can also summon large black cubes, which can disrupt the techniques of a sensory type individual, which is no joke, because it was able to even disrupt the likes of 6-path Naruto's completely, as well as enabling the user to estimate their lifespan through a flame-like shadow. battle. This ability in a way is similar to Vanishing Rasengan, obviously not by how it works, but because of the surprise element it brings when using it against an opponent who doesn't know of it. This has been proven against Kashin Koji, Naruto, and Sasuke, where Isshiki would summon these blocks out of nowhere, no hand signs or nothing, and it would literally come out of thin air. It's an ability one can adjust to in terms of being aware of it, but again is why I compared it to Vanishing Rasengan, but predicting where it will be used isn't something one can do. And last, but definitely not least, is Eida, Boruto's new antagonist that literally everyone is simping over. I am not joking. In his plot to kill Jigen, Amato heavily modified Eida with Shinobi Wear. The effects of her modifications left her forever despising Amato, and because of her superior might, Jigen had ordered for her disposal. Boru was given the order, however, affected by Aida's powers, Boru could not bring himself to complete the task, and instead hid her in a remote location operated by his cult for his own uses, which is where this unnamed Dojutsu comes from. Aida's ability grants her the power to make anyone fall in love with her regardless if male or female. The only counters to this is if that person is blood related or Netsutsuki, meaning Boruto and Kawaki are the only two individuals who wouldn't be affected by this ability due to the Otsutsuki transferal being past a large percent, meaning part of them is Otsutsuki. Now there was an interesting claim about this Dojutsu, and apparently is that it was called the Senrigan, but after looking at this chapter there was nothing about that. I don't use Twitter anymore, so maybe that was misconception spread by someone, or I'm clearly missing something, because I looked over the chapter twice and never have I seen the word Senrigan. Anyways, we haven't seen Eida use this in an actual fight, but the closest we got was Code attempting to kill her, only for him to have no control over performing this ability, immediately changing his attitude when confronted by her. You guys gotta understand, this is a pissed off Code. Aida's ability alone was able to calm him down despite even disrespecting him, laughing at Isshiki's death and calling Code useless. Even after all that, his attitude never changed, he literally just took it. This is what makes it so overpowered. She never has to worry about being confronted by anyone, and even then, she was stated to have power that surpassed Jigen, so she'd probably win majority of her battles. Compared to all the other abilities I mentioned, they are all abilities that could give its user leverage in battle. Aida's Dojutsu doesn't really help her perform crazy strong abilities because it doesn't need to. She never has to fight any of her battles. Only those with the counters is the one she needs to worry about, and how many of those are there that are known? 2, literally 2. She also has a secondary ability that allows her to launch her mental conscious into any moment that she wants to see. Of course, this ability has a restriction, and that is allowing her to see anything from her birth till present. She cannot see into the future or anything before her birth. And as of right now, that is every new Dojutsu that has been presented to us in the Boruto series. But as promised, before we end the video, I did say that I would rank them in order from weakest to strongest, so let's briefly do that. I already told you guys Boruto's Jogan is last on this list. Its abilities aren't bad, just not broken, since we just don't know enough about it. Yes, his Jogan does somewhat counter Urashiki's Red Rinnegan ability to move through portals swiftly, but the deciding factor here is simply durability. Boruto does not have full control over his eye, and unlike Urashiki, it is not something Boruto can spam. Urashiki comes in and out of portals like it takes nothing out of him. He can do it as many times as he wants whenever he wants to do it. So yes, Urashiki's Red Rinnegan also follows up right after Boruto's at 6. Delta Scientific Ninja Tool Eye is up next, and I'm putting this under Momoshiki's Rinnegan just simply due to the fact of, again, durability. Her ninjutsu absorption ability lets her absorb and shoot out ninjutsus just like Momoshiki, but unlike him, she can continuously absorb a vast amount at one time. And on top of that, Momoshiki amplifies the attack he absorbs by a large amount. Fourth on this list that I think most can agree with is Momoshiki's Rinnegan. There aren't any direct abilities that can counter this Dojutsu because chances are it gets absorbed. Like I mentioned earlier, Momo is able to preset the conditions in any battle. No ninjutsu, only taijutsu. It's a very strong ability, just not the strongest in my opinion. The next remaining 3 in order is Urashiki's Blue Rinnegan, Isshiki's, then Aida's Dojutsu. Urashiki's Blue Rinnegan and Isshiki's Dojutsu were pretty hard to place between the two because both of them are insanely broken. The Blue Rinnegan basically allows him to foresee any given moment, meaning if Sasuke were to strike him with his blade, Urashiki would see the whole scenario already take place, allowing him to counter successfully. On top of this, there have been no limits to how many times he can use his ability. From what we saw in that arc, this Dojutsu is spammable, and the only counter to this, like I said before, was something so specific to where 9 times out of 10 most opponents wouldn't be able to do anything against. He also holds a second ability that basically substitutes him from any attack. But the reason I'm putting Isshiki's Dojutsu ahead of Urashiki's is because it can do so much more. Issiki can shrink any non-living object and regrow it to any size he wants. This was seen restricting the QB avatar, the same one that was going blow for blow against Sasuke's perfect Susanoo. On top of this, it has only been proven that Sasuke's Sharingan is the only thing able to see Isshiki when shrinking himself. Not even Naruto with his gifted sensing abilities was able to tell where he was. He was also able to shrink Naruto and Boruto's Rasengan them to the point to where it looked like they disintegrated. His second ability allows him to store any object he shrunk in a dimension where time doesn't flow, and can summon blocks that can cancel out all sensing abilities. There's just so much this eye can do, and it naturally counters a lot of things. Just like Momoshiki, Isshiki sets up the battle in his favor, except on a larger scale just from this eye alone. And as for Eida, well, I mean, her ability is so broken she basically doesn't need to fight. What else do I really need to say? She can use it for other methods too, like interrogation, and once she has no use for that person, she can just kill him. She has the power because she's stronger than Jigen. Every other user has abilities that aid them in battle. Eida doesn't do that because her ability completely avoids a fight in the first place. And based off of the conversation I mentioned with Code, it doesn't seem like any other emotions besides love can be shown in her presence, no matter how disrespectful she is. Now we are finally done with today's video. We've gone over every new ability and I've given my personal opinion on what dojutsus I think are the weakest to the strongest. But if you disagree, I'd love to know why in the comments down below. Thank you guys for watching all the way until the end. I appreciate it as always, and I will catch you all in the next one.